Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and the show is known as PWD Allies Podcast. Check it out on your favorite app. Subscribe, share, like, whatever you got to do if you want to stay up to date on the latest shows. This segment, Ask Me Anything. Ask Brent Anything, ABA. And that's what the show is going to be about today. It's also going to be on, Advocacy Salad. Advocacy Salad. That's a kind of a unique twist on the today's show, and that's our segment, for what we're doing here. And so, ask me anything in the comment section as we progress on today's segment.
So what we're going to do is when people join the chat, if they have a question for you, what they will do is they would type at the beginning of the comment ABA.
Yeah.
And that will flag the comment, and I'll look for any ABA comments.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll direct them towards you, and we can throw them up for the panel if it's more of a panel.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on any topic, if it's on about housing, some of our segments that we've done about housing affordability for PWD. I mean, market housing, subsidized housing. Is it about maybe fragrances in your homes? Like, I am not an expert, but we could dive into a little bit of that. Do you have exposure to like laundry detergents that maybe will flare up your allergies, or is it about plastic straws or paper straws? Is it about like Tim Hortons going to be going with?
I got an ABA for you. How come McDonald's coffee is better than Timmy's? What happened there?
There you are. Oh, well, it's how the beans are squashed down, right? I don't know.
Actually, I know the answer to this. When Tim Hortons decided to cut corners because it became an American company, they sold the brand of coffee that Tim Hortons used, and McDonald's grabbed it. So all Tim Hortons is McDonald's.
Oh, well, there you go.
Don't do dark roast, but the regular coffee is actually tastes better than Tim Hortons muddy what did I call it? Fiberchino. Because it tastes like carpet.
So in other words,
have you tried Timmy since they switched to the paper lids?
Actually, Timmy's is far away from me.
Yeah,
I don't bother.
Yeah, once they do the paper lids, that's it for me. I won't go. I won't go there. Then I told them in a segment of break.
You can the way around it. Not that I think Timmy's coffee is anything to shout from the rooftops. Is you can buy a reusable mug, or you can bring your own refillable. Stainless steel mug, and they'll fill it.
Yeah, maybe that's what I used to do. Then.
That's what I used to do on the way to Swiss Chalet. Was I had one of those thermos mugs I bought from Walmart, the Thomas mugs with the, and I just hand it to them and go, I'll take a medium, and they fill it. So,
so you should ask for a small. I want a small thermos full. Yeah.
Where did you want to start today, Brent? Did you want to start with the CDB, or did you want to start with Pinky Ponies? Or
Actually, first of all, we're going to start with the CDB, and then we're going to blend over to. I've got a lot of ponies right behind me here too, eh? The pink unicorns. But so we'll dive into that.
And they're all bullshit.
Yeah. Exactly. And so we'll dive into that one. I'm going to start with the CDB first.
What do you get if you cross a bulldog with a Shih Tzu? Bullshit.
There you go. There you go.
I love Dumb and Dumber for that one.
There you go.
So today's segment is for people following along on the audio segment of the podcast or watching live. I'm going to be diving into the part where it affects over 1.6 million disabled Canadians in Canada. Now, out of 1.6 million disabled Canadians, there's a huge portion of that number that are actually on provincial, territorial, and federal benefits in Canada. And not all are going to benefit with the new announced Canada Disability Benefit. that will come out in maybe 2025. Now I'm hearing 2028 by the time everything's all regulated. And
what's
and
the maximum number they're saying now, Brent? What's the
Well,
maximum number they're throwing out there now?
So I'll give a little breakdown of that. First of all, it said they were going to help millions, and then it went down to hundreds of thousands, and then it went down to tens of thousands, and now it was like 600,000 at first. What they said they were going to help for.
Well, no, it was 1.5 million.
Yeah.
That was the very first. It was 1.5
one.
million, and then it was like maybe around a million, and then it got down to hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And
then that's when we had we had our two guests on, Michael Prince and Neil Belanger on, and when they were in the budget lockup, they were ready to get out. They were screaming to get out of the room because the fact is that when they read through the budget within 10 minutes, I know that Neil had said within 10 minutes he just wanted to get out of that room because he saw the numbers, and that's not what was agreed upon through the parliamentary committee stage and through all the organizations across Canada who were lobbying the government. I mean, they were advocating, lobbying the government, and people with lived experience sat and gave testimonial, lived experience stories to the government. And you would think damn well that the government would actually say, hey, okay, let's do the right, the right way here and help people out, because that's
they
what
never
they
intended to. The whole thing about humor and the letters, it was all a smoke screen. They had an agenda. Freeland had an idea already. She already knew exactly how she was going to do it, and she knew she was going to gaslight the majority of people it was made for, right before Carla even brought it to the forefront. It was all smoke and mirrors. I'm not being skeptical. It's just the proof is in the pudding, because we've seen exactly what's going down.
But what a colossal waste of time, though. Like you're supposedly bringing all of these advocates to the table. Supposedly, you're involving like a lot of reputable MPs and MPPs, right? Mike Morris being pretty front and center, and others,
well, the thing that ticks me off, is that they could have added. If their intent was only to start with $200 a month, they could have just added that to the Canadian Disability Benefit and offered people on social programs to join the Canadian Disability, the CP whatever version, the Canadian pension version of the disability thing, and just open it up, and they would have saved millions of dollars. They could have beefed up that amount, that Canadian Disability Benefit, opened it up to people to apply to it instead of being on the provincial, and be done with it. But
like I said, though, it's sorry, I was just going to make one small little comment. Like it's one thing to give the middle finger, or sometimes I like to call it the double-fisted middle finger. It's one thing. It's one thing to give the double-fisted middle finger to the disability community. But when you're doing it to your own MPs, you know what I mean? Like it makes everybody look bad, like so bad. I mean, like I said, it's one thing to throw all of the disability community under the bus and run them over like multiple times, but you're basically doing that to your own MPs.
Well, especially when the report came out just recently saying now by 2028 they're going to make sure that only 25,000 disabled Canadians out of 1.6 million are going to get maybe some help at what, $6 a day?
Yeah.
Right. So you know what? I think we know that when there's a will, there's a way. Like with the CERB, there was no qualification. If you needed $2,000 for the month, you could get it, right? But this could be solved so simply. They already know who's got disability tax credit. I know not everybody has that, but you really should. If you qualify, you really should have BTC. they could tack it on to our GST payment. You know, like
so easy to do that.
Yeah, they already know who we are.
Well, yeah, because the CRA already has all everybody's information.
T5s and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the T5007, the CRA already has that information automatically when the provinces actually do the income tax. They send a copy over to CRA. So CRA is now waiting for the recipient to basically file their taxes. So they already have that information from the provinces. And so all you have to do is send that information right out, and boom, it can get right out to the hands that it needs to go to.
Like, how did they determine who got the $500? Remember the $500 top up that happened was last year? I forget. It all blends together. It was like, here you go. Throw us a bone and please vote for us if we have another election.
Exactly.
You know what it? Yeah.
Here's a little clip I'm going to play here for you. Hopefully, Neil, you can get this on the screen, but I'm going to play a little clip here. Now, hang on.
The goal is to lift
people out of poverty.
So we can lift persons with disabilities out of poverty. Lifting them out of poverty. Out of poverty.
It lifts people out of poverty.
Get out of poverty.
Persons with disabilities out of poverty.
People living with a disability out of poverty. The goal is to lift
people out of poverty.
You know what I just did, Brent? I did some very quick grade 1 math, maybe grade 2 math.
Yeah.
Because basically they're saying, again, this is maximum numbers, right? So based on maximum numbers, the maximum benefit they're saying is $2,400 a year, right?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
For a maximum of 25,000 people, right? So if you times 2,400 by 25,000, guess what number you end up with? You end up with $60 million. Now that sounds like a lot, but $60 million is like less than it's only one tenth of what they said that they're investing over $6 billion. That's what the B. So that means, actually, sorry, that I even got that wrong. It's one. Is that right? It's 1/100th.
Because they got 100 years worth of payments.
Yeah, so it's actually 1/100th of what they because if it was only 1/10, you'd be at $600 million. But it's actually 1/100th of what they said it was going to be $6 billion, and so 25,000 times $2,400 is only $60 million. So that's 1/100th of what they said they were going to do.
Here's a little clip I'm going to play what the finance minister had to say about the CDB when she was questioned. Okay, and I'm just going to get it queued up here. Just give me one moment.
Benefit program is intended.
Okay, here we are, folks.
It's a follow-up question also about funding. The disability benefit program is intended reports in June. The PBO estimated this morning could cost as much as $20 billion in its first year. No money has yet
20 billion.
Yes, 20 billion.
Yes.
No money has been earmarked for the program yet. Why is that? And when can we expect to see more clarity around that?
Again, no specific announcements about the fall economic statement. But, as you suggested in your first question, fiscal responsibility is really important. And we have to be sure that we make the investments Canadians need, provide them with the support they need, but do it within a fiscally responsible framework.
Yeah, like that means throw people into the bus when you support AI.
Oh, and then there's a little part
here.
I see there's a comment here from Melvin saying he doesn't get GST.
Next we won't be able to do everything.
We won't be able to do everything, she says. Well,
except fund AI at billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate, right?
We can't give people anything, but we'll give technology.
Yeah, they basically say they want to take care of the citizens of Canada, but we can't do everything. We have to be fiscally responsible. I've heard that line many times over many years. I mean, the provincial governments used to say that, they have to be fiscally responsible, live within your means, and all those key words that they used to use. Yeah.
But again,
given the choice between being lifted out of poverty with $6 a day or be given a hand up, not a handout, I'd rather the hand up, so what's the hand up?
But,
and that's the conservative mantra, right? Hand up, not handout.
But let's go
what's
back.
The hand up?
Let's go back to the numbers though. They said they're going to invest this mammoth $6 billion. Well, where's the $6 billion if 25,000 times $2,400 is only 60 million?
Mm-hmm. And they're going to do it over.
So where's the rest of the $6 billion? Where did
over how many years? Over how many years did they say?
6 years.
6 years?
Was it 6 years? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they want to do it over 6 year grid. So that's the
okay. So that's $1 billion. Yeah.
1 billion.
Well, we get the 60, and then the rest of it goes to administration.
To
fees
overhead,
and, padding pockets, right?
all the consultation.
Greasing palms.
And they say they're just at the beginning stage now. At the beginning, what were they doing before?
I got a bridge I can sell you.
And apparently she admits that she hasn't been talking to the provinces at all.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 4 years.
Kamel is just a puppet.
For the last 4 years, we haven't been doing any of this consultation stuff. We said we would, but we haven't been doing it.
Yeah.
And we don't even know.
The
thing is, that's frustrating, is we don't even know if the premiers want to play ball because they haven't done anything. And let's face it, the Doug Fords and Scott Moes could say, I don't feel, or whatever her name from Alberta is, saying we don't feel like playing ball.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other question is what I'll start. Patrick, I'll go over to you. What is your observation on when the feds first announced about the Canada Disability Benefit? Did you think that they were going to really fulfill their commitments? I actually saw the trend happening right away. Just these splashy announcements. But when Mr. Trudeau would come out every morning during the beginning of COVID, he'd come out of the cottage and then he'd give his announcement. And every sector of the population, all these announcements, but then persons with disabilities was the last group of people in Canada to get that announcement. What was your inkling on that? Where did you think things were going to go with that?
You know what? I don't think we're a priority to government yet. But I think we will be as the population ages and disability becomes front and center for more people in their lives, and it's just not yet. Everybody knows somebody or sees somebody who's disabled, and we've all had those crappy comments from people, because we're active social media, we're commenting about nasty emails. I get it on TikTok. They don't even bother sending an email. They just put it right in a comment, you should have, whatever, not been born. There's all sorts of nasty
It's amazing you've got time to repost stuff when you could be looking for a job.
Well, do you want to transition now that we've a segue? Let's segue over that.
Yeah, we'll kind of make a little transition over. From helping people with the CDB. So we'll make the transition over here within 30 seconds, just people following along and what? So helping people, CERB, as we know, it all went out right away quickly. People in the disability community, we call for DERB, right? Disability Emergency Response Benefit, to help people while the federal government was so-called working on this historic Canada Disability Benefit. It's going to be a one-off to help every single person. Well, we know how that's working out. The provinces, they couldn't get the rates up, so they were depending on the federal government to come through with this. Well, that's like egg in the face. So people need help, right? People need help. So on social media, I mean, people people with disabilities, I mean, for whatever reason in their life, they're needing help. I mean, they've developed more disabilities in their life. Maybe they were in an accident. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe the company closed down. Automation coming in. I'm not going to blame everything on automation, but I mean, automation's coming in, and or maybe the employer is just their tax to the hilt, and they can't afford to have all the employees on now that they used to. So now they're having to downsize, and they get rid of the employee. So people now
and corporations are getting paid to hire immigrants at a lower rate.
Lower cost.
That's a big factor too. I'm not, and I don't have anything against immigrants. I mean, my parents were immigrants, right? But there's this trade-off that's been done in the back room where an employer like Walmart only has to pay a migrant immigrant $10 an hour instead of paying a Canadian 17.
Yeah,
big vast amounts.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because like there's signing bonuses that big corporations get for hiring so many people, right? And I have nothing against immigration at all.
And generally, the migrant immigrants are in worse conditions than we are, because they've been traded as a slave basically for a residency visa to work less than what the people in the country get. So
and that's why, Ellen, is that people are people with disabilities that are posting on social media for help, right? I mean, they're asking for a mutual aid or any kind of help, financial help. I mean, just to help with the high cost of living, to boost up their income, maybe so they can enjoy life. I mean, like everybody else, just because they have a disability doesn't mean that they should be segregated away from the rest of the population. Oh, we have a disability. Oh, hang on, you better stand in that corner then. No, people want to be treated equally. They want to be treated with respect and have the dignity. And when people post for help, they shouldn't be criticized. I mean, for the reason why they need it,
especially from your own disability community, especially.
Yeah. Well,
especially.
I mean, and even when they do post out for mutual aid, doesn't mean that they're actually getting financial help. Like I can tell you, like I know off the top of my head, there are like at least 50 people that have posted out and they have not had any help in many months. And so the assumption, now I was saying this off air earlier to Sonia, I said the word assume. Now I'm going to throw this out here. The word assume. So if you break down the syllables, how we spell assume? ASSUME.
It makes an ass
so
out of you and me.
You and me. Yeah. So when a person assumes that mutual aid people are getting all the financial help that they're asking for, it doesn't mean that they're actually getting it. They may get some maybe if they did post out, say, an Amazon wish list, and some people do. It doesn't mean that people are going to get something on their.
I actually don't know how that works. So you have a bunch of groceries and you put it in a grocery items in a list, and then you share that. Okay, I wasn't sure how it worked because I've never done it before.
I got I got my own pride barrier that stops me from asking. I guess I'm not desperate enough at this point, but if I was, I'd get to that point. And I think I'm not alone. There's probably a lot of people that have disabilities that are on the edge and aren't willing to ask, because you get nasty comments and people jerks sometimes.
You do. There's a lot of pushback from individuals who maybe feel that disability rates shouldn't be increased. I mean, there are some individuals that think that disability rates need to be the way they are, or maybe the welfare portion of the system. And that, again, that's a divide. That's a dividing disabled people that are on, say, welfare that are pending to
you can name drop. Let's go ahead and name drop, Brent, because this particular person's been name dropping you, even though you have him blocked. He's been name dropping you like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and name drop him. Like, even though we never do this, let's go ahead and name drop him, because he's the one that's name dropped you like without any care in the world.
Many times, yeah. And I mean, normally our practice is not to name drop people, but under a situation where there are so many people in the disability community that have been told and warned me, and I kept, I just never blocked the person. Why? Because I wanted to hear more about the food bank scenario of the observation, but then the person became very toxic toward me personally, and it still is actually being toxic. Even though I blocked the person, I keep getting notifications nonstop, and my advocacy is to bring out the inequalities that the government is doing right now for people with disabilities across Canada. And so my advocacy is to hold them accountable. But when I keep getting notifications thinking, oh, hey, maybe someone sent me a comment, they want to come onto the show and talk about their lived experience, and I see, oh, it's an account that I have blocked. I can click view and I can see the comment, and the person's name is Pinky Pony. Okay, the name is Pinky Pony. He says his name is Roger. And I remember one time when I used to have Twitter Space going, and Pinky Pony would come on, and so I would get everyone to kind of introduce their names. And I said, okay, rather than me call their, I'll just call them by their first name, basis. That way it's more personable. I'd say, oh, so your Twitter handle's Pinky Pony. Well, do you want me to call you Pinky Pony, or what's your real name? Roger. He goes, Roger. I go, what, your name's Roger or not? What you want
to have to think about it. You have to think about it.
You have to think about it. So I said, okay, Roger, well, I'll give you a shot to come on. And I was warned that Pinky Pony, Roger, was very toxic to the disability community because he would be pegging disabled against disabled. He would get into conversations and start bashing me because I said, well, the rate for housing was only at the time was $375. It needs to go up because the cost of living's up.
I've had an interaction with him. I can't remember exactly where, but I think he's blocked.
Yeah. And I would say that people would have to use their support portion to pay for the high cost of rent. And he goes, well, RGI. And I said, and to go forward with that, to people listening to this, I agree that yes, RGI, sure. I mean, but obviously the governments across Canada have to actually do that. I mean,
that was not funding any RGI
exactly.
this year.
No,
But let's stop there though, Brent, because let's make clear that this Roger Pinky Pony, he is getting an RGI unit. Like, yes, he is blessed to have an RGI unit, and I always throw out the number of 12% are maybe getting RGI. I don't know if that's right. I think it's probably pretty close though. Probably about around 12 to 15% are actually blessed enough to get an RGI. The rest of us are forced to pay market. So
by the time I qualify,
$1,300 for a bachelor.
Yes, terrible. Yeah. By the time I qualify for RGI, I'll need old age accommodations.
So the very fact that he's saying, I get an RGI, but screw you, and how dare you post for mutual aid when you only get maybe like once or twice a year at most, and it's from Amazon, right? I mean, he's giving everybody the impression that you funded your whole trip through mutual aid.
Yeah, mutual aid, and to me that is bogus. Like throwing darts at my back. I mean, and I'll make this very clear. Yes, I mean, I have had help in the past, and that was over a year ago. I mean, I have had help. I mean, anyone listening to this, they say, well, no, I've helped you. Yeah, I mean, there might have been maybe the one or twice help, like in between that time frame. And since then, I basically managed to just cut corners on basically my bills, cut down on food, basically just to kind of fund our holiday that we had on our train. Yes, it did cost money, and absolutely, the trips do cost money. But I also got money, from family, from tax credits. From Amazon wish list. I mean, geez,
you saved your money.
Sell them.
You saved your money. Yeah.
But even off air before we launched, we were talking about the fact that in actuality, food banks, which Roger's a huge advocate for, food banks in actual fact are basically the epitome absolute pinnacle and epitome of mutual aid.
Mhm.
Just quick question: Is it Pink
So here
Pony?
he is, like saying, like shitting all over mutual aid, when in fact, food banks are the absolute pinnacle, epitome of mutual aid, and he defends them up the asshole, and yet he's shitting all over, you know, your version of mutual aid of posting for through Amazon. So it's just a total double standard. And by the way, we should say he also spent, like, what we figured out, you know, at bare minimum, maybe $3,500 for a trip out here to. He lives in Toronto, right?
He's actually in Ottawa.
Or Ottawa, okay. And he flew out here to Vancouver for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he probably spent about, maybe at minimum, $3,500. So where did he get his $3,500? Did he raise that through mutual aid, or did he get his all his besties at the food bank to pitch in some money?
Well, he stayed out in Surrey, you know, and we know that Surrey is the biggest community in BC, and so he said he had a perfect view of the mountains. So I knew exactly which hotel he stayed at. I mean, my God, this is going back.
It's pricey. It's pricey.
A couple of decades ago, I actually went and stayed there. I was the work that I was doing at the time. I was actually working in that same building that he went to. I actually used to do catering, so I used to have to set stuff up there and through the kitchen and everything else. So I know that building inside out, and I actually got to stay in there because I had to do a late night shift and an early morning shift. So they actually put me up in the hotel there free of charge. Yeah, it was nice. And I got to stay in a very, it was like, to them, it was no big deal. Like, hey, we'll just mark it off and the room is marked off. And so I got to stay in an executive unit. And I was, I don't know what floor I was on, way up there. And so when he described to me the perfect mountain view, those rooms are extremely expensive. I know, I used to work in the hotel industry, so I know how the hotel industry works. I mean, anyone
I know a girl that she's an assistant manager at the Falls and Sheridan in Niagara Falls, the one that overlooks the falls.
Well, he stayed at the Sheraton.
She only gets charged $20 a night for the nights that she's not working, as long as she stays on for. So she's 3 days on, 2 days off, and then 2 days on again. She can stay at that hotel for like $20 a night versus the $150 they're charging regular folks.
At the Sheraton in Surrey, they're going for at least $300 something a night. So I don't know what room he got, but I mean, you add up for like 2 weeks that he stayed there. Yeah, I mean, even when I went on my train trip, I could only dream. I mean, there was a hotel that we stayed at when we went, and there was rooms that were even more expensive than what we got. I got it through actually points that I had accumulated up over years. When I went, and I still have a lot of points left that my mom and traveled many decades ago, and over time I've saved them up, and I got perks because they had ones where you could actually buy points. Over time, you just accumulate, or you get bonus. If you stay so many nights, you get a bonus night free. You know, and so I'm very savvy when it comes to getting the best deal. See, so here's the other thing too, is that there was a post that Pinky Pony that you posted out, and you.
Well, actually, let's show it on air, because I actually had a couple comments. I had a couple comments from a couple of shows ago. Suggesting that you should actually show some of the comments on air rather than just say, well, this is what he actually said.
Welcome to Brent,
show it.
Jerry Springer show.
Well, yeah, I mean, it feels like we're running up a Jerry Springer show, but well, it's gotten to the point. We kind of have to do it like this.
Yeah. Okay. What I'll do is I'll send it over to you, MJ, and see if I can do this here. I'm going to send this over.
It looks like there's a few comments on the live chat here. I can't really make them out on my phone.
While I'm fiddling with this, I will. You guys can mingle just for a minute, and I'll be right back with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the chat, and I'll say again too for everybody that's in the chat that we have 13 people in the chat right now, so it's quite full. but we said at the beginning of the show too, near the or maybe in a few moments, we were going to do a Ask Brent Anything segment too. So it's ABA, Ask Brent Anything. So if anybody has a
When's
comment,
the next Murray show?
yeah, if anybody has a comment for Brent,
maybe the pink unicorn, pink pony.
Yeah. So if anybody has a comment for a question for Brent, or comment, you can just in front of your comment just type ABA and then put your comment, and then I'll know it's flagged for a Ask Brent Anything. So
you need one of those Murphy, what do they call it? The Ed Murvish set there, Brent. Just the glass chairs with a curtain. Around the air, you could hire the Michael whatever Richards from Kramer.
The thing that bugs me about people like Pinky Pony and Roger, is that he's just lashing out at you with and staying anonymous. Like I've made this point before. Like you and I, Brent, and everybody that's been on this podcast, like all of our panelists, like Ellen and Patrick and MJ, everybody that's been on the podcast, we're all putting our faces out there every week.
Yep.
We're not hiding behind our keyboards or our computers. Well, except now MJ's hiding behind his little emoji there.
But his little avatar. Yeah, I mean,
but we're not doing that, right? We're putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And yet here's a guy, Pinky Pony, that's shitting all over.
I'd like to go and say, hey, you want to come on and critique this whole thing, our conversation?
Yeah.
I'd like to have you on the program, sir. I'd like to be able to talk to you face to face so we can have a conversation and you can go and actually articulate your thoughts and your beliefs so we can have a back and forth here.
Well,
that way, it might not be fruitful and it might turn into a waste of our time. This is
MJ,
true.
It could be, there's all kinds of disabilities out there, and it could be an emotional type, mental type disability, and maybe that's
personality
where this person's coming from, maybe, borderline or who knows.
There's a lady that lives in my,
and
look, I mean,
it's not to be dismissive. It's just,
right. And I'm one of these people.
Takes all kinds.
Right. Let's take a look at this from a pragmatic point of view. Okay. You got things to say. Okay. Let's have you on the program. Let's have a conversation. Let's, and see, where and why you're coming to these things. Because the problem we have here is text-based communications always have this problem. Is you read the text, as the reader, infer your emotional context into the words on the screen. This is a problem that we all face. I do it, you do it, we all do it. Right?
Until they're all caps, then I kind of get the point.
Yeah, right.
That couldn't be a yelling. No.
Yeah,
right. I'm one of these people. It's like, I'm willing to give somebody all the space they have to go and say what they have to say. If you want to go and dig the hole, dig the hole. Yeah. But let's give you the airtime to go and do it,
but
and not go and hide behind a screen.
I think it gets a little offside when there's personal attacks and things like that. I mean, it's just not cool. And
this is
totally
very
unnecessary.
I sent you the pictures over.
Especially because Brent's already blocked the guy. You've already blocked the guy because he's been so harassing and basically assaulting, right?
I think after the
but he's still doing it.
After the screenshots, we've given this guy enough air and breathe enough
we can move on. We can move on.
Then we'll move on to the next one.
I did a tiny home PWD segment, I think last year, just an open mic. It wasn't a very big one, but he came in and he was like, you shouldn't be telling people with disabilities that they could live in a tiny home. Well, that's not realistic. I said, what I was trying to show is that there are alternatives to
I have
apartments.
screen share enabled now if you wanted to throw it up.
And no, he
I
went
just
right
gotta
on the
go
attack.
make sure that it hides my Facebook account because
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If it's not,
no, I hear you on that one. You know, that's to me, like there was the first post, and you know, I was curious. Like I haven't blocked, and then I start seeing notifications, so I'm like, oh, okay. So I started kind of scrolling back and looking, and wow, I'm like, okay. So my trip starts, and the first day that I go on my trip, I mean, we had. I mean, I guess we might have already got on the train. I don't know, and they blasted out there right away. Kidding me, like. And for me, like when I was away, I didn't even look at social media at all. Like I was sending the segments, uploading the segments to Neil as we were going along. So there was like a day, maybe a day and a half. There was a spot where there was 2 days where I had no data, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. Like there was no signal, so I couldn't even take any calls if I had to. But that's okay. But the point of the matter was, Pinky Pony assumed that it was that I had accommodation on the train all the way through. Obviously, no.
Brent,
actually, I had a similar situation, Brent. I on my Facebook, I had there's this girl Sarah that lives in my building, and I won't say her last name, but she has some of her disabilities include a personality disorder, and she can be very nice 1 minute and very ableist the next. And she would attack me out of the blue and then be super nice. And then when she introduced me to someone, she would say, "This is Alan. He's blind and deaf, but he's a really nice photographer." And I'd be like, so I stopped. I tried to cut. I've tried to distance myself, but you just my point being, I guess, is that we're just going to have to accept that there are people who have disabilities that are just toxic, not fault of their own. It's just who they are, and some of them are so angry that they won't try and release the anger. They'll try and spread it around, and we just have to come to the conclusion that that's probably what Pink Pony is about. He's probably the kind that is angry and he wants to make other people feel upset that day. Sometimes
misery loves company,
they
right?
are. Yeah,
but it just looks bad on the entire disability community.
Oh, it does. Totally.
When you're constantly lobbing bombs and saying "shame on you, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you." I mean, it makes the whole disability community like lose so much credibility. Like even if his heart is in the right space of wanting to advertise, food banks as a good thing. I mean, the fact that he's shitting over everybody else
sounds like that doesn't
help raise his profile.
It sounds like he's full of shit to me. He says, or he's a fraudster because if you took a flight that was $3,500. First of all, a flight, like how long you gotta save up on OW? Like, this guy doesn't have actual disability yet, right? He's on OW.
No, he's on disability apparently.
Oh, okay. So
I saw that, but still, even then, like, I mean, sure, he has RGI, but I mean, as we all know, flights are not cheap in Canada.
You know what? I know some people in the developmentally delayed community who are really good storytellers, and they'll tell you a whole bunch of horse shit, and you know what, you might even buy it because they sound so
it would smell pretty bad though.
Well, but you might believe them the first time they tell you a long tale, like it happens. And this guy sounds like he might be because stayed in an expensive place, took an expensive flight, blah blah blah, bullshit.
On his way to a conference too, like a conference, really, like
expert panelist.
When it's backfired.
Yeah, it's okay for him to do it, just not for you to do it, Brent.
Might be full of crap.
Like I said, I think Greg, who's one of my co-hosts during that thing, I think he blocked him because he was coming in and saying that disabled people should be living with families. He was like going on and saying that my show is all fake, and I'm like,
it'd be nice to have family.
Yeah.
Not everybody's got a family that
It would
That's
be
true.
nice to be able to afford to go, and here's the thing is, you want to go on a date and you're single and you're on disability. The first thing you are judged on is you're on disability, you're disabled, and you can't, and you don't work, you don't have a car, you don't own a home, you're never going to own a home, you're never going to own a car, and you're never going to amount to anything. And that's what a lot of women look at you as you just can't be worthwhile. Right?
Oh, they put that right in the dating profile.
Well, exactly. And they put that in the profiles, like must be employed, must have a car, must have this, must have that. So it's like, and it's like, okay, then who am I supposed to date? Somebody else that's disabled?
Pamela.
Right?
Am I supposed to?
The only thing that saves you, MJ, is your sex appeal. Same as you know.
I mean, see, right? Not everyone's got.
Love anybody, love yourself, right?
Not everyone's got. Not everyone's got looks, right?
Yeah.
So you got personality. So you got to work on that. And when it really comes down to it, the bottom line here is, we get treated as third and fourth class citizens in this country, right?
Just graceful.
Because and then when we want to go and try to better ourselves, we get treated even worse.
Well, what's interesting is they don't talk about it much, but that the Nazis, when they were experimenting with the gas that they used on the Jews, the first people they experimented on were the disabled.
Yeah.
Putting them in
That's
buses.
What they say, yes.
And, because we're not getting gassed, we're just getting starved.
Yeah.
And not to say that Canada's not the same.
Well, that makes it okay though, Patrick, to do that.
Yeah.
Well, how is all made is someone saying it's okay as they lethally inject you. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Let's face it. Instead of having some really nasty guy in an SS suit standing in the corner of the room, go, "Now you'll die," it's some nice person in a
with a liberal arm badge,
saying it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. We got the Liberal Party doing the same thing, right?
Just a different kind of fascist, See,
the problem we have here is, I was just watching the interview that Tucker Carlson had with the Prime Minister of El Salvador, and he said, the real problem is no one wants to solve the problems. We went from having, in El Salvador, he said, we went from having it's like 3 times as bad murder rate of Haiti to cleaning this up, because we basically went and we put them all in jail. That was it, right? They got a fair trial. They were known for their criminal activity. They were put in jail, and cumulative effects of their criminality put them in for the rest of their life. Very simple, very problematic, to solve the problems, right?
Yep.
So if they can go and take, and as Tucker said, your country is dirt poor in comparison to America, and we can't do that, right? And my thing is, it's the same thing as Canada. It's like we have all the natural resources in the world. We have all of the ability to go and generate wealth and income for this nation to solve the problems. But we have a government with a can't-do attitude that doesn't want to solve the problems for people that are disabled, for senior citizens who are promised a retirement income that would be beneficial for them. And now these people are having to sell their homes because they can't go and pay for the property tax that is now $3,000, and they're only getting $1,200 to $1,300 or $1,400 a month on Canada pension and OAS. But they make too much money to they might work a part-time job, but that disqualifies them from GIS, right?
Yep.
They're bringing them up to $2,000.
The system's rigged.
Exactly. So the government can solve these problems. They choose not to. And the question we should be asking, in all honesty, is why. Now, the reason I'm diverting from the conversation about talking from this gentleman is, frankly, it offers no probative value to the conversation of where we're at as as allies to
it's infighting and it does nothing.
Really. These are people like
well, that's the only reason why I wanted to raise it is because I just think it just brings the whole thing down. you know, all of the efforts that everybody's doing that's legitimate, it just brings the whole thing down and makes everybody look bad. And you know,
No, it just makes him look bad.
A bunch of finger pointing, and you know, you get this and you get that, and you know, the government's already doing that to us by saying you get rent geared to income housing and you don't. You know, like we don't need to do it to each other.
With him throwing it out there, I mean, there are like donors that legitimately want to help people, and they see these things and they say, "Oh, well, then I better not help anybody." And now everybody suffers even more because Brent wanted to go on a train trip and it cost thousands of dollars, and he's basically milking the system. He's basically milking mutual aid. Am I? Like, tell me, Pinky. I mean, really.
Do you remember the Lay's commercial? If I give one to you, I got to give one to everybody else.
Yeah.
You ever see the chip and the guys in the Arctic? There's nobody around.
Or sure, you can have an M&M, but you can have this flavor, but you can't have this one, this color, because no, it's all for me. Yeah.
I was thinking of that movie, The Jerk. You know, when Steve Martin at the end of the movie where he's got the chair. He says, "All I need is this chair," and he's like, and then he goes back. He's like, "All I need is this lamppost and this chair."
I almost think of. I see all the government doing this when they go, "I'm going to help this group, but I'm not going to help that group." And we sort of see that whole thing like. If you qualify for the Canadian disability benefit, you'll get X amount. And but it's not likely. And I keep thinking of Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber going, "So you're saying there's a chance?"
You're saying there's a little chance still.
You know what? The government response.
Give it to me straight.
It reminds me, I was talking to my father, who retired cop, and we were talking about when they decide to put traffic lights in certain locations, and it's usually because somebody died. And I've been saying, I think it depends on who died, because like a fatal collision of somebody nobody cares about, are they going to spend the money to put a traffic lights in there? But if it's a little kid or somebody who's got a lot of people behind them, they might care more, And I think that's where we're at. We're not a sexy cause.
They're waiting till a major happens, and then when that does happen, then they go, "Ooh, look what we're doing," and it's more about buying votes, right? And it should be about helping Canadians out. I mean, we are citizens. And so here's the comment to the government is, if we're not citizens, then I guess none of us pay taxes. Like, we go to the grocery store, give us a card, say we're now tax exempt. We go to the store, anything that's taxed, we don't pay tax anymore. Is that how it works? Like your utility bills, that's taxed there. Your cable, your internet is taxed, right? One goes to your provincial government. So if you're in Ontario, it goes to Ford Nation and it goes to Trudeau. So I guess if we're not treated as equal citizens, then we should all be tax exempt. Every single 1.6 million plus families, caregivers, doctors, nurses. I mean, everybody in your family. Well, that number is going to really blossom up. I mean, now you're looking probably into the millions and tens of millions, right? I mean, I think there's over 50 million Canadians. So what are we looking at? I mean, federal government, are we looking at half the population or more? And as we age, more of us get disabilities. So I can see that number at 1.6. That's just a drop in the bucket now, right?
Yep.
And now it's going to blossom way, way up.
Well, what is it? 1 in 5?
ABA people, ABA.
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? Go ahead, Patrick. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no. I was saying that currently it's 1 in 5 that's disabled. And, the boomers make up, about 10 million out of the 40? So 1 in 5 there, another 2 million on top of the 1.6, plus all the newborns and the immigrants who happen to acquire a disability or whatever. It's a big deal.
Imagine if Patrick, imagine if everybody asked for mutual aid. I mean, are we gonna go, and say to them, well, are you asking for help because you just want to have a dignified life? I mean, or maybe you have to hope that you do. I mean, you could wait for like 4 or 5 years before you can get mutual aids. I mean, I know one lady, she's been waiting for, 2 more months from now, it'll be almost 2 years, and she hasn't had one help. She posts all the time on I call it Twitter. Of course, the media, everybody calls it X now. Elon calls it X. I mean, yeah, almost 2 years, not even one help, and she's got 2 kids. She lost her husband and due to a car accident. She's struggling, and she's on.
Well, there is such a thing called donor fatigue, and it's happening. Everybody's feeling tapped and strapped, and if you see a bunch of people asking, where do you?
I understand that part of it. I don't understand the part of like why you need to drag somebody through the mud. I mean, Brent, like I said, has already blocked the guy, and yet he's going out of his way. He's going out of his way, even though Brent has him blocked.
You're not supposed to call people mental, but he's mental. He's definitely got issues.
Well, he's definitely got something going on there where, people in my life is, I don't feel like I need to prove myself. I mean, I can prove, but I mean, for me.
Well, you prove yourself every week, Brent. You prove yourself every week by coming on this podcast. What has he done?
Yeah.
Well,
he's just
he's taken up an hour of time.
Okay. Well, we can shift gears. Like.
Yeah. I don't know if MJ, if you had those things to pop up, I'm not sure.
We don't have to bother with that. Maybe I just thought it was because I did get some feedback saying, it might be helpful because otherwise it comes across as hearsay, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, we flamed the guy enough. So.
Can you paste it in the comment section here? Like a copy paste, or would it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter because nobody that's watching can see it anyway.
I mean, if MJ does come across it as we're talking, and he wants to talk.
Sorry, I had a phone call.
Oh, sorry.
There's a company I'm dealing with. I'm getting my recall machine for my.
I think the ping pong. I think the ping pong of this world are going to be out there. They're going to be toxic to some level, and I'm not sure whether they're doing it spite of their intentions or if their intentions are to be toxic. I've come across a couple of people that no matter what you say, you're in the wrong with them, and the best thing to do is to walk away.
Just stop talking.
I've been accused of being toxic when I've basically been right, and it's like because people don't want to hear the truth. And the bottom line is the truth. The truth of the matter is, for a lot of people out there, the truth hurts people's feelings.
Yeah.
Right. And
you can't handle the truth.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being truthful, but when you have someone like King Tony who is just attacking people for the sake of attacking, leads me to believe that they have some deep-seated issues. Maybe they're angry that they have a disability themselves, and they just, or I don't.
Well,
cares? Like, really,
I'm angry. I'm disabled. I'm angry. I'm disabled. I mean,
but you're not attacking people on social media either at the same time, right? Like
only certain people,
He's the pink pony.
It's usually when they're just going full retard. I mean, I'm sorry, but sometimes you just have to respond. But sometimes there's people that is like in this case. Is they're slinging mud to try to go and get a reaction. Now they've got the reaction, then they're going to go and say, "Ooh, look at all these people had to say about me." Who-do-do-do-do. Well, here's the deal.
It's like tossing a match.
I'll invite you. We'll go mano a mano. We can talk about this, you and me, buddy. Not a problem, and we'll have a conversation. Let's see how this can go.
I would actually love it.
Moderate that.
I would actually love it if he came on the show because that would mean he'd have to show his face. And say, "Hi, here's my face. I'm Roger, and here's all I know about food banks." And that's fine. Talk about food banks all you want, but at least acknowledge the fact that a lot of us think that food banks, like I said, are a glorified mutual aid.
Well,
When
yeah,
They're Band-Aid.
Right?
Yeah,
See,
because when food banks came out, they weren't even originally. They came out as soup kitchens after the World War, and they were always supposed to be as a temporary measure. But they were there to help the veterans and the soldiers, the nurses, and the doctors. I know because my mom actually helped in a soup kitchen, actually, and helped in the tents with the nurses during the Second World War. And she said she'd tell me stories about food banks and how they've now blossomed over the time, and it should never have got to the point where people need to be reliant on food banks for nutritional. They don't have nutritional stuff for food banks for
no,
people.
most of the food.
Yeah.
You're right, Brian. Most of the food at food banks is not quality food, and most of it's hitting the close to expiration date.
Yep.
And
or past.
or past.
Yep.
And you know, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here because a lot of these people that volunteer are doing it with good intention.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the truth, right?
The truth is, I'm
food bank.
I'm grateful for the food bank because there's a lot of you got to be careful with what you
That's
pick
food
and
bank.
avoid the dented cans and like the produce. It's nice that they have produce at mine, but you got to eat it that day because it's
Well,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's right there.
We
Right?
can call out the good ones. I mean, there are good
Oh, yeah.
community kitchen ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of church-based ones that are really good.
Yep.
Anything
Yeah,
that's
I've gone to them myself. I've gone to
anyone
some
that's community-based or like a lot of the church ones are very, very good. So I'm not we're not going to paint them all as bad, but the bottom line is for somebody
And
that's shitting all over mutual aid and shitting all over you for mutual aid, at least wake up to the reality that, again, food banks are a glorified version of mutual aid.
Yep.
Here's a guy that's shitting all over mutual aid, and yet he's the one that's trumpeting a glorified version of mutual aid.
Yeah, I mean, like
Right?
people should have they should have a UABI, or they should have a GLBI, any form of income that is going to give people all the needs that they need, a livable income, so they can go and buy the nutritional supplements that they need in the grocery store. What they need to buy it. That's what they need. They don't, and nothing against the good food banks, right? And exactly, I mean, there's some great people that are working in the food banks right now that are actually they're caring so much for their community, and so they want to give back to the community by them helping in the food.
I strongly believe that if Doug Ford had not killed the basic income pilot, that we would have a basic income in Ontario because they were showing it was working. People were actually going back. People were going back to school. People were supplementing their jobs. They weren't sitting around playing their PS4. They were they were eating better.
Speak for yourself,
etc.
Well, see, here's the thing: is even at $2,000 a month for UABI, where you can optionally take it, like if the federal government were to come out and say we're going to do we like MJ's plan, it makes sense. It's brilliant. It solves all the problems. But here's the downside, folks, and this is the truth, is we could be going and getting rid of about 500,000 to 1 million government workers across the nation or more, depending on how people use this UABI for their families, right? These are the downsides, and we have to be honest with the people and say this is what can and will happen.
MJ, the thing about the getting rid of people, it's just attrition that happens too, like the retirements and things. People are just gonna, disappear on their own.
Like we're talking like, if we go and say UABI across the board, all jurisdictions, and it's $2,000 a month. Okay, are you going to sign up? Are you going to sign up? Are you going to sign up? Are we going to sign up? For me, being disabled, I'm going to sign up to $2,000 a month as long as there's no restrictions on it, right? If this says, well, you could go out and get a job, or you could own a home, you can get married, you can do whatever you want, you can own as much assets as you want, still collect it, but it's going to be taxable income. This is the change. You're going to have to accept the following conditions, right? People would still accept it. People would still accept it.
I think the UABI ends up being the same as an increase in minimum wage.
Well,
at the end of the day, all the prices go up because
Yes and no.
it's going to cost that much more to motivate people to go to work.
Here in BC, let's talk about it. When the BC Greens had the power share agreement with the NDP, one of those things was that they said, we want you to commission a basic income report. We want you to do a pilot, and ideally, we want you to roll out a basic income for. It was going to be for the most vulnerable. It was going to be for the kids that are aging out of care in the foster in the foster kids realm.
Yep.
It was going to be for the women that were escaping violence, and it was going to be for people with disabilities. That was what it was about for here in BC. That was what the BC Greens wanted the NDP to do. So what did the NDP do? They said, fine, we'll do a report, and they got this wonderful report, the nice glossy report, and so again, that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, it was released. The report was sitting on the minister's desk, and it was released out on January 21st, 2021, after the snap election that we had back in 2020, and. I looked at this because we were living in Langley, Neil, at the time, and we had the COVID supplements at the time, and so we were able to actually stay living in our place because we had that supplement going. And then they said they were going to be rolling it down to just continue it completely off. People in the disability community got outraged, and when I heard about that, and I came across that report, it was actually provided to me from one of the advocacy groups. Brought to my attention, Brent, you may want to read this because Sonia and I were blasted all over the news hour. I mean, it doesn't matter which news station it was. Like, they were picking up on the news story. Hey, this is great. Hey, could you like to do an interview? Sure. Hey, Global News, would you like to do an interview? We're going to send a cameraman out. Sure. Okay. I'm going, oh, great. I'm going to be on TV. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Can we set up right outside your building where you live? Sure. Yeah. My landlord's standing from a distance, coming up and walking by. Oh yeah, I mean, it was fine, right? Nothing was bad. But I still remember the one line that Sonia brought to my attention the other day and said, do you remember what the news reporter asked a question? And what was it, Sonia? What would you do with what would you do with $2,000?
I would move it.
What would you do with an extra $2,000? That's what the reporter asked Sonia. Actually, it wasn't me. And she said that was CBC actually that asked that too, also, because they did a report on it. And Sonia said, I would move out of here because even though the rent was more expensive, we would actually get a cheaper place and actually be able to enjoy life, right? And be able to have a cheaper accommodation, but put that money back into the economy rather than giving it to corporate landlords. And I said that rather than giving it to corporate landlords.
Or better yet, buying a place where you could afford to go and own a place, and then you wouldn't be paying rent anymore. Now you would own a place and you would be able to go and have that place, whether it be in a condo building or whatever, designed and organized for you and your disabilities.
Yeah, exactly. Make it accessible for us. And when that report came out, I was reading through it, and the top recommendations was to bring up the rates up to a poverty level, and it was about getting rid of the shelter portion. There was a whole bunch of things that were actually.
You got a copy of that report, Brent?
I do.
But the important part is that it was targeted. The important thing was it was a targeted thing that was specifically for three main groups. Again, it was for the foster kids, it was for women escaping violence, and it was for people with disabilities. So three main targeted groups that was always targeted at, and the NDP still did not want to do it.
Neil, that's kind of sorry.
Go ahead.
That's just what I think is necessary. Universal, to me, that just says everybody gets it. And the problem that I have with that is that I think it just increased costs across the board.
See, because you're right. That would. This is why it has to be universally available. It has to be
Well, and
available to
targeted.
everyone by choice, right? You can choose to take it or not to take it, right? And that's the thing.
But if you had the choice, are you going to take it or not? You know, and
the
I think
question, the problem is that if someone's earning 99,000 a year or even 150, are they really going to need $2,000 a month?
Well, that's why it's universally available.
That's to pay for my slip for my boat. You know, like, yeah, come on. You know, you're offering me free money.
Well, right. See, and this is why I realize that universal, like for everybody, isn't going to work. It has to be universally available, right? So everyone has a choice. If you don't have choice, then everyone's going to be taking it whether they need it or not. So by that choice, it becomes that situation of where, well, if you're making $100,000 a year, why do you want to go and add another like say 24,000 or 48,000, depending if it's $4,000 or $2,000, right, to your income that's going to be taxed, right?
Because you have a small business, so you don't pay tax. You know, like there's ways around it. You know what I mean?
On a yacht, my company
right. Well, this is
exactly.
Right, this is true. And here's the thing: is helping people become self-employed or being able to go back to school or
all that stuff's great. I agree with you. I just, you know, like if you give me the option, even if I'm Kevin O'Leary and I'm making $300 million a year or whatever, you're offering me $2,000 a month. I'm taking it. You know, like, yeah, capitalism's good. I'm going to buy more shares. You know,
right.
It kind of pisses me off that I never tried to apply for CERB because I kind of knew that it was going to get clawed back, or I thought it was.
Yeah.
But then you hear like from a lot of people it wasn't. And so I thought, well, you know, I could have done very, very well with an extra $24,000. That would have been nice.
Yeah. I was told in BC they were going to claw it off. So when we were the place that we were living at, the gentleman there, one of our tenants, had said apply for it. I said no, they'll claw it up. No. He's made it exempt. I go, no, they haven't. And of course, I didn't know that. Yes, they did make it exempt. So I said, no, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. No. And so he says, I
never bothered because I was scared. Yeah.
Me too. And we could have.
And I didn't qualify because I've never worked.
Yeah.
Okay. MG, I sent them.
I did qualify and I got hosed by ODSP.
I qualified, but it was I got burnt. It was self-employment that I had the year before. I was driving a truck for a farmer salesman guy, and you know, of course, he never claimed any of the stuff that I was doing as cash, and you know, I didn't make enough money, but I thought I did, and now I got to pay it back.
Well, you see, that's why the basic income report, it was so vital that when BC was studying it, they had 3 expert panel individuals that, well, so he claimed.
Are we going air quote here as expert panels?
Yeah. I mean, just two
out of three panelists agree.
I mean, we'll have to get Tom on to one of our panels. We'll talk about that report. He knows a lot about it too.
We haven't had Tom on in a while.
Be interested to hear.
You know, I mean,
we need his guitar.
Well, this is the thing is, you know, when I take a look at the idea of universally available basic income, I was looking at this from a slash and burn idea of getting rid of a lot of government workers. So I included child support and child benefits, right?
Okay.
So all the child support payments that you'd normally make would be through UBI, right? Now, as and same as spousal support, right? It was all going to be lumped in. It's saying, here's your money. This way we would save people tons of money because a lot of the fights in the courts are over what? Child support not being paid and yada yada.
And backlogs.
And backlogs. And all the rest of this thing. This would clear up tons of court to go and deal with actual issues. And it would open up lawyers who then could go into the practice where we truly need them is in the criminal division. And the same with judges. They could get retrained to go to the criminal division, and then we could solve the backlog over there. And the problem is we have to recognize the truth that, we have a system here that is designed to go and keep the misery going.
Oh, yeah.
And, UABI, in my opinion, is going and trying to stop the misery.
You know,
That's really-
you know what else is true, MJ, is that divorced parents through child support, divorced parents get more support than I do as a widowed
I know.
parent.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, under my program,
which is just bananas.
right,
Well,
under my
yeah.
program, I'm gonna assume you have what, just one kid at home?
One, yeah.
Okay. So, and a spouse, or
I have a second wife now, yes.
okay, so, and you own. So under
I
this
own.
idea, you would be able to be under, you know, if we were at $4,000, it'd be $4,000 for each of you, right? Which would mean that you would have the ability to go and because we're also gonna, my idea is also to get rid of student loans, right? And because I did some math on this, at $500 a month, if we went at $4,000 or even at $2,000, $500 a month, for per child over 18 years from birth to 18th, your 18th birthday is $96,000.
Wow.
Okay. And for that being put away, and that's not including on interest or investing that money to grow it even further, to go and increase that investment so they would have more money than the $96,000. Right. So that would be able to be money that would be put away for their education, right? For their future education. The rest you could go and spend on whatever you want. So if you want to spend $1,500 or whatever, and some of your own money, and putting a kid in a private school, you could do that too. Or if you want to pay for daycare, that money is daycare. This would eliminate all of these programs like $10 a day daycare and all the administration that goes with it and all the rest of these things. The idea is to simplify this, where you, as the consumer, would receive this money and you could go and spend it. Now, putting away, if you had been able to put away $500 a month, Neil, for your kid out of this money, your kid would be going to be able to go to a school and get a quality education, right? So then they would be able to move forward with their life. But now your kid's going to graduate, then he's going to have to take a student loan out and enter the world being in debt. And my thing is this, is we need to stop this perpetuating this debt cycle that we've created in society with, you know, and this is where UAPI is very, you know, with my idea is bigger than what the government's willing to offer. Even at $2,000 a month, we solve problems. We put more money back into the pocket of society, especially when people are getting divorced, because then the only thing you have left is to deal with dividing assets, you know, and custody of the children.
Proved that
it did.
Basic income can work. It proved that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The last government did that here with the pilot project in Ontario. Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Right.
But my whole point is it was still restricted to a certain demographic that needed it.
Yes.
You know, like it wasn't.
There's a cap too, I think, of
Which you know what, I just can't get that out of my brain that, you know, like if everybody had it, it would mean
or
nothing.
if everybody could have it. Like, for example, like let's just say, for example,
BC was going to have it too.
It's like you get married, you have kid, and your spouse dies. Okay, you'd still have $4,000 a month for you and your kid, right?
Right.
You still have $4,000 a month. Unfortunately, you lose that $2,000 from the spouse, but there'd still be a couple spousal payments to help pay for things. But this is, but here's the thing, is it gives people the chance to go and also own property. And that's the biggest thing, right? Is we need to stop the cycle of getting people being renters. And that's the biggest issue that people on disability, that senior citizens are now facing even further. We're turning people into renters instead of keeping them as owners. And if people are owners, then we have a permanent roof over somebody's head, right? Instead of right. And it creates stability. And as and I'm looking at this from Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I could have bought a sofa for $35,000.
Were your ears burning, Tom? Did you hear my request for a guitar?
I just got the message because I just got home. So yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm looking at all of these ideas. Is we're trying to solve a bigger problem, and we're trying to go and look at this from multiple, not just tomorrow, and we're looking at this at 50 years from now, 100 years from now, because we all know the truth. Automation is coming for most things. We have self-driving cars that are currently on the horizon. We've got
transport trucks,
self-driving trucks for moving goods. We've got self-driving trains that are, that are out there, but are not there yet because the current track system that we currently have is not maglev.
Let's be even more truthful and say that Skynet is coming.
Exactly. Let's be honest.
Well, you know what we already have is Canadian Union of Public Employees, who, you talk about getting rid of government workers. I think they're going to be strike over that.
The thing too,
we're not going to fire people. We're going to buy out their contract. Because here's the truth: is you have a contract. Your next contract comes up to renewal. We're going to say in 3 years your position will no longer exist. We're buying out your contract now, and we're getting rid of you today in favor of, for retraining. So we'll pay you for the 3 years and you can sit at home. Or you can go and take the money for 3 years right now, and you can end your employment with us and have a nice day. This is how, see, the problem is, we have governments that want to create programs to create jobs. We need to, the truth is people are more happier, more productive in the private sector, right? For the most part, a lot of people that work in government jobs are not happy. I don't know how, I don't know how, times I've seen this across the board. They're just miserable. And a lot of these jobs are heading towards automation. We've got the CRA
on a Monday.
Right. The CRA, can technically, if all of the paperwork is automatically submitted, like from the banks, where you're from your employer, or wherever where you get your income from, blah blah blah, your investments slips and all the rest of these slips that have to be put in are all sent to the government. Then they can automatically go and do the calculations on April 30th and have a nice day. There's no need for us to waste our time. Unfortunately, that also takes away tax preparers as well.
Well, the other thing too is all those jobs at Walmart and Target and whatever they're going to be is, and I'm counting the U.S. in this, is I went into a Walmart to do my shopping 2 weeks ago, and there were 3 cleaning machines. How long before those cleaning machines are also guest welcome to Walmart, enjoy your shopping, yada yada yada, and just some machine with a screen on it, and you go, hey, what, Joey, the machine? What?
I'm sorry, Dave, I cannot do that.
Sorry, I cannot.
But I also thought to tell you I feel very depressed today.
now you're asking the bigger question, Alan, is how are we going to fund this? Well, if you want to have automation and put in 6 self-checkouts, and that gets rid of, it gets rid of some places running 1 person per 2 machines in a self-checkout thing. Others are just running 1 person that just oversees the whole thing, right? Yeah. So basically, if your system has just 1 person, you've eliminated 5 jobs.
Yep.
Right?
Walmart's heading that way.
And that's just for 1 shift. And if you have 16 hours open, that's 10 jobs.
Oh my gosh!
Plus the weekends.
I'll just interject quickly. Last night I posted this recently on Tom the Big PC guy. There is so many robotic companies now. A hell of a lot of them in China.
Yeah.
And so many of them have LLMs built into them already, and the people are having their own LLMs, not just ChatGPT or GPT 4.40. They got so many ones that can do all kinds of things, and it's like once these things start going out there and start scaling up. And people start kind of like, it's almost industrial espionage, but not really. They like, okay, so this is what this guy's doing. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to learn. I'm going to put that on my machine. And then you start to get like, once they all
remember
than humans and done. It was like, I was at work listening to this, and it's like, this one can clean. It can climb stairs. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked.
Well, true though. I watched the thing on CBC where they were interviewing this restaurant that had the robot flipping fries. See, 80% I think they said that they will even be McDonald's without any staff in it. Because
there are a couple already in the States.
I saw in Japan they're big on what the concession machines, right?
Yeah.
And I was going through and taking a look at concession machines the other day, and there was a concession machine that could go into cook French fries.
Wow.
Now,
I know there's one that can make a pizza in 10 minutes.
Yeah. There's one that can do a pizza as well. I saw that one. There's obviously the coffee drinks and all the rest of that stuff, but there's ones that do the advanced coffee drinks like that Starbucks does that you have a barista do, right? In the mix and all the rest of the stuff, and
then draw the little heart on the top of the coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the 1920s and 30s, they had these places called automats, and automats were basically they were staffed by a couple people that would put things in the back, and then you turn a coin and you put a coin in, turn the thing, and you get your sandwich or coffee or whatever. So it's not a new concept, but you're right. We're screwed. All the minimum wage.
He's another thing too.
When we were down south, there was like a McDonald's that we had gone to in New York, and there was a couple, and we went to the one that was right near the Times Square. That when they dropped the ball, right? Anyway, didn't realize how close it was. I went in this one, and it was all kiosks. There was a couple seats to sit down in. Otherwise, they took all the seating out, and there was no cashier. It was all just self-service kiosks. That's it.
Think about it. How hard would it be?
That's 6 employees that just got automated, right?
Yeah. How
6? See, and this is what and people are asking, how are we going to fund this? The corporations are going to have to pay an automation tax. I'm sorry, but this is where we're at, folks. We're at that point where the corporations are going to have to pay a minimal
tax. Oh no,
minimal fee for this. And they can
somebody that saw it years ago, like Richard Branson, and they're going, "We're going to have to do this because otherwise, I'll have my fancy store and there'll be chaos all around it. That doesn't make sense. I need to make sure that the world isn't falling apart. Otherwise, how am I doing business at all?"
I was in a GO station in Burlington, I want to say, in Ontario, and Shoppers Drug Mart had a vending machine, and it had everything from cosmetic soap to a set of earbuds. Like how long before you just walk up to a machine and pay a debit card and say, "I think I'll take an iPhone 14."
Well, actually, you know what, Alan? It's not stretching it. I know I used to have
seen a few of those phone kiosks, actually.
There are
phone kiosks.
There are phone distributed. Apparently, Heathrow Airport has them. Like you can get
the BC Ferries has it. Yeah, you can get not phones, but you can get like headphones, adapters. They have them on the
Shoppers has that. I'm getting an actual machine.
But here's the thing:
the Amazon Go store.
Really.
Right, but here's the thing: is how soon will it be where you'll go and say, "Oh, well, I want to go and order groceries from." I'm going to just use Walmart, for example. And Walmart will have this self-driving robot that will drive down the highway or self-driving thing, come to your house, park in front of your house, honk the horn, your Apple ring, say, "Hi, your groceries are out at the curb." Right?
It's coming.
Right?
It's coming.
And, and if you live in
20 seconds to comply.
Right.
You now have 15 seconds.
And now with how they're building buildings and skyscrapers, they're building it so you've got your commercial space, some office space, and then residential space, and you got 20 stories of residential, but you got enough commercial space where you could have these little robots go and say, "Oh, well, I want to go and order some A&W from downstairs." They'll put it in the robot, it'll drive up to your thing, ring the doorbell, as it were, right? And say your food is here.
I didn't get the apple pie.
we actually are at the end of the show.
Around these things, I mean, like I clean a dealership, which is like the old school kind of auto model dealerships. But one of the ones I used to clean was like all online sales. So it had a tiny little section for like actual in-person customers. The rest is all online sales, taking photos and stuff. So it's like, it's also like, what ways are there around it? Like there was that one video that Scott Santon shared of a piping thing where the the mail will go to the main, like, Canada Post, whatever. From there, it goes into these pipes that go underneath, just like we do everything else. And so you have a pipe thing right here. It just goes, there's your food. So
Cool.
that, or
Right.
like
I didn't
your own
get my
delivery.
I didn't get my apple
See,
pie.
this is with how we're talking. How we're talking about densifying populations and building new buildings.
Yeah.
It's not going to be far off before it's like you live in the building. It's like, oh, I need to go and get some body soap, and I want this brand. You just punch it in the app. In 5 minutes later, the robot's at your door going, ding dong, here's your stuff, right? And all there is maybe people, maybe robots even going and taking it off the shelf and putting it into the other robot that delivers it to you. It could be robots delivering with robots, and there's next to nobody there, right?
Yeah.
There's only somebody there making sure that the robots are actually doing what they're programmed to do.
Brent, your train trip is ready. The robot's here to pick you up. Oh, okay.
I have a question for Tom.
Okay.
One, can I have a piece of your banana bread?
I have banana bread.
Well, aren't you eating banana bread in the little pan there?
I mean, this is it's my usual kind of, like, if I don't make it home quickly enough, I'll get this from Save on Foods. It's like chicken and wedges.
I thought it was a banana bread.
I'll give you a fry. But this is also the new place. I've been not really broadcasting the fact, but yeah, this is the new place here. So yeah, I just moved in here. It's like lower rent thing. I moved in here like a month ago. So yeah, okay. What? Any other question? There was another question.
Another question is, can you play us out?
Yeah.
Yes. I had two because I mean, like, there's this new place, so I was like, I used to live. Neighbors talking. There's that one. But I can't do. I don't know yesterday, but I can do, like, the request where it was like.
Yeah, the other one. Yeah.
Well, I got a song that you could learn on guitar.
I don't know any robot ones. There's that Queen song, Machines.
Oh yeah, right.
Sounds like a Beastie Boys thing.
Well, no, actually, I saw this dude that there's a version of. I don't know if you're a David Bowie fan.
I'm actually going. A friend is in a David Bowie band. I'm actually going to be going to that on Friday.
Okay,
so it's called Bowie Forever. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's people that are out there doing acoustic covers on guitar of As the World Falls Down and other songs he's done, like from Labyrinth and other things. And it's like,
that'd be good.
And I've sit here and I've been listening to these people play these songs, and it's like, it's quite amazing how people have come up with acoustic renditions.
I had a great rendition of Space Oddity.
The end of the world as I know it.
Well, no, it's not. It's never the end.
Fine.
Yeah. Or maybe put some of the UBI or Derb or something in there, or something like that.
You be queen.
Well, this is
UABI.
Nothing will keep us together. We can steal time.
Well,
never than never.
How about you ain't heavy? She's my brother.
One game.
The road is long and ever a winding road.
Thanks everybody for tuning in today.
Yes.
Until our next segment and trying to have Tom on. Tom will make arrangements with you. Good. And talk about that report that came out years ago now. But the basic income. Yeah.
My favorite report in the world.
Yeah.
Bye all.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in, and we're going to end the segment with Tom to play us out, and stay tuned to the next.
Okay.
Advocacy Salad.
I can barely hear.
All you need is love. All you need is love. It's love. Love is all you need.
All you need is love.
All you need is love.
So we're out.
We're not out
Yep.
yet.
No.
Not until I say so. Bye all.
Cheerios.
Cheers.
When